So, good afternoon. We'll start with our case study lecture of ethics. We have done one case study earlier. I had given you two case studies. One we had solved in the class. The second one you were supposed to solve. Now the thing is, see, let me tell you one thing about the case studies especially. In the case studies, go through the first lecture, lecture 1. Lecture 1 was given you to understand the basic dimensions under which you will evaluate the case, how you will progress, what will be your steps. Like, firstly, in the introduction, I told you have to give a brief idea about the overall stakeholders, who all are involved there, the dilemmas, what all dilemma can be there, the ethical dilemma. Now, how to evaluate the ethical dilemma, for which you have to go through the theory, and I have given you that formula CLAS, that you whatever steps you take, it should be suitable legally, it should be suitable from the point of view of your conscience, it should be suitable from the point of view of social norms. All these things have been given to you, and the problem should be practical, workable, whatever solution you give. Likewise, when you are evaluating what all dilemmas are there, I have already told you that what all can be the dilemma, the ethical dilemma, what you can think from your personal point of view, in your personal capacity, then your professional point of view. What is the dilemma? Ed, what is ethical dilemma? When you have to choose between two equally important, two equally probable pragmatic solutions, which one you are going to choose? I had given you this example. A train is running at 150 km per hour speed, quite a high speed, and some work is going on at this place. If the train is left to run, then one person who is on the track here, one person will die. If we divert the track, divert the train through our arrangement, there are 4 or 5 people who are working on the track here. Whom to save? See, one life or 4 to 5 lives. This is the choice you have to make. But then the situation becomes complex when this one person is somebody whom you know, is your relative, is an eminent person. So you are choosing between two equally probable solutions, but you have to choose by taking the ethical call. That's why this ethical competence was going on. So what we will do, we will analyze the situation from our theoretical understanding. We will see from our personal capacity as a human being. What do you think? The call of the conscience, what your conscience says, the value system through which you have grown up, what you have understood regarding the society, the moral reasoning, your upbringing and all, that what call you will take. Then your professional, as a professional, like as in the capacity of DC or an SP or an NGO worker or a businessman or a businesswoman, what is your take? See, how do we learn why this ethical competence is important, why it is important to remain sane in the situations where adversity is there, stress is there. You must have heard about this case recently. You must have heard about this case, this particular case. a CEO of a top-notch MNC was found to be a murderer who murdered her 4-year-old son in Goa. Recently, you must have heard about this news. See, these things, these cases, when we hear, they shake our conscience. What is wrong with the society right now? What is wrong? See, you must understand what is the problem. This lady was facing some issues with her husband. Fine? Fight with the husband. There was some rage inside her because of this fight. She took out the rage on whom? The son. That too, a 4-year-old. This 4-year-old might have seen something suspicious. This 4-year-old was an innocent person. Why did the lady murder this person? What could have been the reason? The thing is that it's a high time that we focus on our mental health along with the professional competence. Like this lady was a CEO of one of the most profound, best companies in the world. Probably very highly paid, living a very good life, was having all these values. When we talk about the Maslow's need hierarchy, she was tending towards this actualizing situation where she would have lived the best life because her basic needs are met, as we can see. As far as it appears from the naked eye, we are not very aware about the deep seated situations with what was happening with her. Then her esteem needs, yes, society also giving lots of respect. She also feels good about her because of her achievements. What happened? What went wrong? The thing is that the mental health is suffering. And because of this, we see lot even youngsters, they don't know how to solve a case. They don't know how to solve a situation where there may be some dilemma. Look at this situation where the lady killed the 4-year-old son. Why? Such highly competent person, professional competence is really high. The ethical competence is missing. That's why these case studies are given to you. How will you react to in the real situation? Although you may write wonderful answer and end up being the most corrupt person in there, but at least when you write, it creates a value confusion when you are doing some indulge into some corrupt practices. That is why these case studies are given to you. So you analyze the case study by being in the shoes of the person. Okay, so that's why I'm telling you the essence. The essence of the ethics paper was given to you. How and why did this paper came? The theory part has been given to you. Now with the case studies, especially, let me tell you one thing very clearly. The case studies will require you to practice. Okay, that is why what I am doing, I am solving one of the cases. One case I solved. You don't see the solution. See, how am I solving? See the steps. The biggest problem with the UPSC examination is that, or in fact for any education, is that the teachers, they keep on giving you the content. They keep on giving you the fodder, but they don't tell you what steps to follow. See, what is the difference between IIT exam and a UPSC examination? In IIT, most of the teachers, the coachings and all, they tend to give you the formula through which you can solve the problem. Here, nobody gives you the formula. Nobody have I ever seen giving you the formula. They may end up giving you spoon feeding things, like if you follow this context of the question, then content of the question, then you give the examples and your schemas. This I had given CCES. Understand the context of the question, give the content of the question, that is the conceptual understanding, give examples, and then follow the schemas, that is your diagram, flow chart, presentation and all. That will ensure. This is just a brief understanding, but how to do that you have to ensure through practice only. Practice it, and practice will make you perfect as far as case studies are concerned. I'll be giving you the formula. So let's go ahead and solve our case study regarding the organ donation. Organ donation case. I give you the case study beforehand so that you have to go through the case studies. That's why I'm not repeating it. I'm not bringing it on the screen because you already are aware about the case study. That case is with you. What is the case? Briefly, let us summarize the case. The case is that you are a senior person in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. You are supposed to draft a policy. Draft what? Policy for your future organ donation scheme. And unless somebody objects to, unless somebody opts out, every citizen will be assumed to have taken a pledge to donate the organs when they die. Donate the organs when they die. Now this practice is very much conversant where in your countries like France and Spain. These countries, it is prevalent that you are a citizen of the country, and that is why it will be assumed that when you die, your organs will be donated to a needy person. Now you have to draft a policy around this. In a country like India, how will you do it? One is that how will you do it? What are the arguments which are in favor? What challenges you will follow? See, what all you have to give is, first is your arguments which you will be using, because you have already been made the in charge to draft the policy in this way. You don't have any choice. You can't say that I will not draft such policies. These policies are to be decided by you. That is a final version of the government. You are in charge of drafting this, and you also agree to this. Then what are the arguments in favor? That you have to give. And remember, when you are giving the arguments in favor, largely what you have to see, the two things: legal and ethical. Ethical, moral. It should be legal, it should be ethical, and what all I have given you, it should be workable or pragmatic. Workable solution. You should not give an idealistic situation. I have told you in the first class itself, idealist situation, idealist solutions neither can fetch any mark nor is it advisable. Fine. So, what are the arguments in favor when you are drafting such a policy where, unless you have opted out, everyone, every citizen will be assumed to have donated or taken a place to donate their organ. How can that be done? That we'll see. Firstly, if there is such a case study, although they have explicitly asked you what challenges you will face, what are your arguments in favor, what is the solution to the challenges, this they have asked. Still, you have to give a brief intro. They have not asked you to write an intro, but still you are writing that introduction. Why? Just to give a sense to the examiner that you have grasped the question. And that I keep on telling you, whenever you are writing an answer, even if your other papers of GS is concerned or your optional paper is concerned, it is always expected by the examiner that you give a brief intro. In the intro itself, what all you will say? You will say that I have understood the question. This is the race. Starting from this point, I am on the line, ready to take further steps. I have understood the question completely. This sense you have to give. Okay, so this you have to keep in mind. Please be sure that this is done. So in the intro, what you will write? You will write about, first and foremost, the sensitivity of the organ donation issue. What is the sensitivity involved here? The organ donation is a culturally, religiously, and ethically sensitive issue. How it is a culturally, religiously sensitive issue? You see, in Hindu Dharma, Hindu religion, what is expected of a person or a person's relatives when somebody dies? When somebody dies, rituals are to be performed. One thing, the relatives will perform the ritual. All the relatives, most of them, will expect that all the organs of the person remains in the same way as it was just before the death. You must have seen that a person who dies in a road accident, a person who dies because of some or the other crime. Now, the biggest hurdle faced by the law authorities is that they always say don't do the post-mortem, because they want the body to remain in the same situation, because they have the attachment. Everybody can understand that they have in the religion, and the kind of emotional attachment with the person is that they don't want the body to be mutilated in any fashion at all. That is very much understandable, but still you have to understand the legal issues. Sometimes you have to use your emotions in the positive manner, be pragmatic that yes, post-mortem is important, through which it will be revealed how the person died, so that we can improve the safety measures. Likewise, when the organ donation becomes a compulsory situation, when everybody is supposed to donate the organ, there will be huge hue and cry by the relatives that no, we don't want to donate the organ of our father, our mother, or any of the relatives. Their organs should not be removed from their body before putting them on the pyre. You know, pyre, pyre, when on which somebody is burnt after death in the Hindu Dharma, Hindu religion. Likewise, for various religions, they have their own practices, and it's very much understandable that they have their, like you might have gone through this fact that in some of the religions, what they do after the death of the person, they leave it openly for the vultures to prey upon it. Vultures. So that's their practice. Fine. So you will face these issues. Ethically, what is the ethical issue? You say, what do you say? That you have taken the consent, but you have not taken explicit consent. The only option given is opting out to it. Opting out. You opt out. You have the option to keep yourself out. Yes, this is given to you. This is respecting your humanitarian right, respecting your Article 21, right to life and privacy, right to life and liberty. They are respecting, giving full freedom to your expression, your choice regarding the donation of organs. That is being given to you. The choice is yours. But at what cost? Probably you are not aware of it. If you are not aware and you did not opt out, then you will be forced to donate your organ. The authorities will come as soon as the death of the person happens. The authorities will come and take the body for the removal of the organ. You may have to wait. The relatives may have to wait to conduct the last rites. Last rites of the person is to be conducted. The relatives are waiting. Once the organ donation formalities are done, then only they will get the body. Right? So the consent for all these things were not taken. You see the efficiency of our authorities. It is so pathetic. Problem with countries like India is that if you are a well-read person, you must have read about this case. Arushi Talwar. A youngster, a minor, who was killed, God knows who, because even now things are not clear. I think it's a case which is around 15, 20 years old, 15 years old maybe. The daughter of two doctors, well-read doctors. Her body was found one fine morning by her parents. They called the police. Police went there and see the efficiency of UP police, that most of the evidence, forensic evidence, was either compromised with or removed. How funny. When later on, when lots of you and after, see what happens after that, assumptions and presumptions. Media also tried to play games, because it was the case of a minor girl. Assumptions, presumptions started, gossip started, as is the usual case with our society. Gossip started. People started giving out various versions. Even judiciary was not left out of it. Judiciary also gave different versions. Nobody is clear. The evidence is not clear. Then came a situation when the case was handed over to CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation. Even CBI failed to come to any particular conclusion. Whenever somebody was accused, there were people backing them up. Likewise, there was another case of Nithari. I have huge interest in forensic psychology, so I keep on reading about this case. Nithari, where Mohinder Singh Pandey and his servant, what they used to do, they used to kill the young children, and then after that they were probably involved in necrophilia also. They were consuming the bodies after their death. These are all psychological issues with the people. So, you see, because of the inefficiency of the administration, inefficiency of the system, we cannot say the fair play will happen. We don't know. People have very less trust on administration, especially in the countries like ours. Very less trust. And that is why there are the role of the leaders, like you people who will become civil servants, ethical civil servants, morally upright civil servants. Their role becomes important because I have told you to ensure ethical sensitivity, to ensure that ethics is part of the system. The most important, the cornerstone is your ethical leadership. What happened in the Arushi Talwar case, if a sensitive officer, morally upright officer would have visited the crime scene and sensitized all the forensic officers, don't compromise with the evidence which we may have. And in our country, forensics are given the least importance. That's why it is very difficult to prove somebody who is in a position to influence situations, who has the power and authority, that he or she has done a crime. Very difficult. The judiciary will take aeons, ages to prove it. And judiciary will not consider anybody guilty unless proven otherwise. Nobody is guilty, everybody is innocent, and that is quite justified. Human rights, quite justified. But the only problem which happens in our case, in our country, is that the authorities are supposed to prove somebody guilty, not only guilty, beyond doubt. Now, this becomes very difficult because one or the other doubt will naturally come. That is why cases take so much long. Unlike the countries like USA, reasonable doubts are definitely entertained, but unreasonable doubts are not catered to. The punishment, you go to Dubai, you leave your car with the keys on, you leave your house with the doors open. Nobody can dare to take a single piece of anything from your house or steal your car. Open in the road 2 a.m. with the keys on. Because of the punishment is so harsh. That's why people don't even dare to. The authorities are so strict and efficient, which is not the case in our country. So that is why people don't have that trust. So these are the dilemmas, these are the issues which you will discuss in what? Your introduction. In brief. So largely speaking, which are the issues involved here? Firstly, you will say organ donation is a sensitive issue in the intro. OD is sensitive issue, and the kinds of sensitivities which are involved, I have already told you: cultural, religious, humanitarian. Cultural, religious, or personal. After highlighting these things briefly, then you will start addressing the first part of the question. What are the arguments? Because see, you are already supposed to draft this policy. What are the arguments you will give in favor of the policy? Which arguments will make your case, or what are the cornerstone of your draft policy? What are the arguments in favor? You will say, firstly, it is quite natural, humanitarian, altruistic, whether it be any religion, to help the other human being. No religion in this world, no religion, either it is Sanatan Dharma or any other religion, Hindu, Muslim, Christianity, Zoroastrians, none of the religion in the world says that you should not help the other human being. Helping, ensuring that the other person's needs are taken care of, especially when they are vulnerable, especially when they are downtrodden and underprivileged. Empathy, as I have told you, empathy, compassion formulates the inner core of every human being. So, if the policy is trying to ensure this humanitarian endeavor, what is wrong with that? Nothing is wrong. It's a humanitarian endeavor. Altruism should be at the core of our growth. And if you look at the perspective of humanistic perspective in psychology, humanistic perspective in any discipline, you will realize that altruism is something which we are born with. We are born to help other human beings. That is why see what happens, if you look at the developmental psychology, how you should develop. Once you grow up, as you grow up, you will also realize that once you are beyond that phase of infantilism, where you are not self-centric, you will start giving back to the society. That should be your approach. That's why these papers come. I have realized that there are people who are in their age of this 25, 26 or beyond, and they are thinking about themselves only, criticizing others, diminishing others, devaluing others. This is the age where actually you should start thinking that how will I grow up so that I can give back to the society, so that I can give back to my family, so that I can give back to my peer group, the friends who have been supportive or because of whom I am what I am today. Should you not think of giving back to your nation? The answer is yes. The person with healthy mindset will always think like this. The people who study at the premier institutes of IITs, IIMs or AIMS and other places, and some of the colleges of humanities also, unfortunately not very fan of humanities, because I have seen the kind of people, only a few colleges nurture good talent, otherwise it's unfortunate fact that people pursuing humanities, whatever the college will be, are neither professionally competent nor ethically so strong morally. So those people who have pursued IISc also, that career in their youth, they end up giving back to the society in one form or the other. You should also think of this. I'm not saying that each and everyone is bad, yes, but largely speaking, most people who are not coming from a competent background remains completely insecure and infantile in their approach. That is, they are always thinking about themselves, even if they grow up to the age of 60. What should be your approach? Your approach to living a healthy and fulfilling life. You must have seen there are people who are 65 and on. Nripendra Mishra, who is still in the PMO, at the age of in the 70s, he is such a energetic person who drafts lots of policy, very close to Prime Minister, retired bureaucrat, still formulating policies for the country. How? That energy comes from giving back to the society, serving the human beings. And Gandhiji said that to serve is the highest form of duty. So coming out from that only, because see, ethical values, when we reason it, the reasoning should be ethical. I told you, ethical reasoning. Ethical, yeah. Ethical reasoning should be the cornerstone of your arguments. So altruism as a human spirit, that you will highlight. And making organ donation compulsory unless opted out is an altruistic approach. So what is wrong in that? You will advocate, you will favor this policy in terms of this altruism. Second thing, see, one thing you understand, that you will get marks in this paper because of your ethical reasoning and the conviction, the force behind it with which you will speak. I am speaking, there you will write. The conviction should come from within you, and believe me, if you have the conviction, you will definitely get marks. Most people ask me that I have written the content. Where is the problem? Why I don't get the marks? Because the conviction was lacking. You yourself were not having competent feeling about your content. So altruism is one. Second thing is that, as I told you, the individual consent is not violated. It's one thing that the explicit consent has not been asked, but still you have the option to opt out, right or not? Yes. So we are respecting your judgment. You are respecting your right to life and personal liberty. You have the choice. Nobody, see, listen to this very carefully. Nobody on this earth should be forced to do something which he or she does not like. Period. Nobody. When we say that suppose children, parents say you have to become a civil servant. The children don't like it. Children don't want to study for so long. Children want to become something else. And their talent should be nurtured according to their own interest. The inherent interest which they were born with. What was the inherent interest? Inherent interest was to write something poetic, creative writing. And because of the strict nature of the parents, they ended up being engineers. So where is the problem? Humanitarian. We don't respect others as a human being. You see, what happens in your Western societies, once the child has grown up beyond a certain age, they don't tell him or her to do this, to do that. It is their responsibility. They will make them competent to take the right decision. That's the same thing which should happen in India as well. Recently, I was just seeing the suicide note of a small girl from Kota who was preparing for NEET or JEE. She had written it that I did not want to pursue it because of the parents' forcing nature. I am pursuing it. Although she had cleared the exam, the next day result came, but one day earlier she had died, taken her life. Why? She did not want to do something. So first and foremost as parents, first and foremost as teachers, first and foremost as leaders of the society, it is our duty to see where the child is happy. In your intimate relationships also, in your relationship, personal relationship, the prime concern should be whether the person is happy or not in supporting you, with you, or in whatever endeavor. See, these are the ethical dilemmas. Recently, I was watching one of the cases where the custody of a child was not given to the parents, given to the grandparents, the father of the father and the mother of the father. Why? Because the court found that the child was happy with the grandparents, not the parents. Because parents were forcing the child to do something which the child did not like. The happiness is and should be at the core of the concern. So individual consent, which we are talking about, individual consent is being respected here, although in our demerit will count that explicit consent has not been taken. After that comes your third point is that, see, this policy is bringing what? The greater good. Utilitarian approach. We have covered this, utilitarian or not? Utilitarianism, and that's a good way. A good way out. Utilitarianism, greater good. One person may not feel like donating his or her organ, but the organ donation is actually working for the society like anything. That utilitarianism is being respected, greater good, and this greater good is actually, next point coming from this only, this is the most efficient system. You look at the system, this, how efficient is it? Everybody being born in this country will become an organ donor. And look at the most important aspect. When you are introducing this case, you must point out to the fact that organ donation is not the need of the hour. There are people who are in need of a healthy kidney, a healthy heart. There are people who are in need of eyes or many other organs, who are living a half fulfilled life, whose life can be saved. Just because the organ donation, organ transfer could not happen, some people lose their lives, some people die. Because the organ donation could not happen in the prescribed time format. That's why you must have seen that the traffic is diverted, corridor is created just to ensure that the patients who are in urgent need of attention are taken away swiftly to the hospitals. And unfortunately, the healthcare system India has is very, very inefficient. The tertiary care is very, very inefficient. Why? Because our youngsters are not focusing upon the research part of it, not focusing upon the careers which are core career, engineering, doctor, nobody. Everybody wants to become bureaucrat, sarkari naukar. Unfortunate fact. I'm not saying that people should not pursue their own dream. It is their choice, humanitarian choice. But then you have to see that everyone cannot become a bureaucrat. That's why, firstly, nurture the talent the person is born with. Secondly, we must respect to the situation in which we are. The country needs more engineers, efficient engineers, more doctors. There are so many engineers but not efficient ones. The doctors are very less. So this system is most efficient. And since organ donation is the need of the hour, we need such an efficient system. These are the positives, these are the favorable arguments, these are the arguments which you will give while drafting the policy. But what are the challenges? What are the negatives? See, one thing what we have discussed here largely is your ethical concern. And then your, I told you what all concerns you should focus upon: the ethical concern, the legal concern, and your workability, whether it is practical or not idealistic situation. If you look at the argument of formulating such policies, this is not very practical. It will have many challenges. What will be the challenges? We will see now. The negatives. We were talking about the positives. Now we'll talk about the negatives. That is, what could be the challenges, the possible challenges which may come out. What could be the challenges? First and foremost, humanitarian ground. Explicit consent, was it taken? No. We have already discussed explicit consent. What is explicit consent? Asking somebody whether you want to donate an organ or not, and then assuming that he or she becomes a donor unless until he or she opts out are two different things. Explicit consent. And see, in today's lingo, today's liberal environment, it becomes very important for youngsters also to understand the explicit consent of both the genders, especially being a concern for female who are growing up in a vitiated environment of patriarchal mindset, which we have such a where law and order is a pathetic situation. Consent becomes very important. So, it is our duty to educate youngsters, both girls and boys, that you must respect somebody else's choice. Consent. No means no. And whereas yes definitely means yes. Both the things are important. So, explicit consent is important. In your conduct also, you should take this explicit consent. We may say the three language policy, that even the South Indians should learn Hindi. No, we cannot impose our language onto somebody who is South Indian, North Indian, or any Indian, maybe Red Indian. Kyun? If they want to learn, if parents of the children say, if the children themselves say we have some affinity towards this language and it becomes imperative to operate in the society, then they will definitely learn. Make it more enjoyable, they will definitely learn. So, explicit consent is not there. Now, we have said that it is an altruistic concern, altruistic way out, altruistic duty which every religion, every culture, every human being should do. But if you look at the deep seated malaise in our society, deep seated problems in our society, you will realize the common perception of the religion is such that they will definitely oppose, vehemently oppose, vehement opposition will be there by religions. Most of the religions will vehemently oppose this practice of compulsory organ donation. That organ donation becomes an important part of your human duty. If that is the case, then it will become very difficult. Most religions will oppose it, right or not? Then comes our another point is legal hurdles, legal issues. What all legal issues can be there? First and foremost, now just imagine a situation. You are in need of an organ. Okay. God forbid it should not happen, you or any of your relatives. Just trying to give you an example. And eventually what happens? A criminal dies. In the shootout with the police encounter. Will people take his eyes or any part of his body? The answer is no. Because this person was a hardcore criminal, so much of hate against him or her, people will simply say no, I don't want this. So how to solve these issues? Likewise, the court will say, have you respected the choice of a person to say no? Again, that it will be vitiated, the situation will become very, very difficult. It may be a situation of law and order also. Because how will you define death? If somebody is killed and his or her organs are trafficked, sold in the market, You see what kind of a criminal activity it will become. People, the underworld gang people will start killing people and selling their organs. It is being done actually by many of the underground criminal gangs. They do it. Some people, they are abducted, their kidneys removed, then they are left to their own. Many of the unfortunate human beings. So these are the challenges which may be faced. Now, what is the way out? Whenever you enumerate the challenges, you will always have to give the way out, the solution. And in this part of the solution, you have to show your conviction. You have to show your creativity, ingenuity, creativity, how creative. And please don't bother about the correctness or wrongness of the solution. Whether it is correct or wrong is none of your concern, because there is no formula through which we can evaluate that this is the right answer, that is the wrong answer. There is no right wrong in essay. There is no right wrong in ethics paper. And that is why it is a wonderful paper for you. Because you see, how do you see UPSC? That it is going to deduct your marks. They don't want to give you marks. But the reality is that, please believe me, UPSC actually gives you marks for being creative. Even if it is wrong, they take you as a competent person. They give you marks based on this bona fide understanding. Bona fide. You know bona fide? Good faith. So even in your optional, what I keep on telling students, why don't you apply your mind? One theory which you have understood, let's take the example of mere exposure theory in psychology. Just giving you an example. Mere exposure theory says that if two people who have some slight liking towards each other keep on meeting in a good environment, that converts into fondness. That is, they start liking each other and eventually they fall in that romantic relationship. This is one theory. Can we transfer this theory by our creative extension to intergroup conflict? Two groups, rather than two people, two groups start meeting in a healthy environment. Those who were hating earlier each other start loving each other. Possible? Possible. The radical theorists, the radical people who probably don't have the ability to think like this, or they might have done, they will always oppose this. No, these are the problem, that are the problem. But UPSC will respect you for this. Believe me. It is not science. It is a humanitarian subject. That's why I say humanity is so easy. Kuch bhi likho. And that's why you see, you compare two people, one belonging to humanity, another one from science, you'll realize there is a difference. Not only in their professional competence, in their ethical values also, unfortunately. Okay, so let's go to the solution. अब ये इतने challenges आए, हमारा जो framework है that we have already given. What is our ethical reasoning that we have already given, but how to address the challenges should also be part of the question that is there. In the question they have asked, what you will do first and foremost, starting with the basic steps. What will be the first step? Spread awareness. Sensitize people. Spread awareness about this organ donation being your humanitarian duty, altruism being your core value of human values, because you were born as a human being, it is your duty to help others. And how important it has become, because Lot many people lose their life. That should be awareness should be spread through whom? Media. Media should spread this. Unfortunately, the media has become so unethical. They are focusing on negative news, lots of negativity. Why people are facing lots of issues nowadays? So much of negativity everywhere around. One death by corona and they will say 100 people died. India all this issue, they will highlight every platform, at every platform, because there is hate, rage. Big boss, they are highlighting. You should spread positivity also, no? Positive news. Have they ever spread the news of Kailash Satyarthi Bachpan Bachao Andolan BBA? Kailash Satyarthi doing the wonderful job of saving lot many young lives who were falling into the human trafficking trap. Very few do, because see, sensationalism. Why it's happening? Because we also love this sensationalism. Sensation. Even for your UPSC preparation, you see, you'll realize that what is the trend and which trend will definitely go in this 2024, believe me. Sensationalizing things. So many new people coming. उसने ये जॉब छोड़ दिया, वो जॉब छोड़ दिया. They came to into the preparation loop and all. Sloganeering being done by teachers and all. They are not focusing on the content. They are not focusing on the duty. The duty of a teacher who is teaching for UPSC is not easy. It is 1,000,000,000 times more than a common teacher, because you are training somebody who is going to be the backbone of the country. These services are the backbone of the country. And if you are not focusing on the core values, then probably you are not doing your duty. Unfortunately, this is sensationalism. So much of new platforms you will see. This sir, that madam, after madam, this, that. What nonsense is going on? Focus on the content. Say the real truth to the aspirants. So, this awareness, sensitivity will be done through what? 360-degree channel. What is 360-degree? What channels you will use? You will use NGOs, you will use media, you will use definitely government channels, you will conduct seminars, debates around it, where the eminent citizens will participate, eminent citizens, and they will sensitize about even the popular leaders. You use all the psychological terms, popular leaders, popular opinion leaders, the people like Amitabh Bachchan, people like who are the heartthrobs, all that you, Ranbir Kapoor, Tripti Dimri, whosoever you want to use international stars also, to spread the awareness. Because once people are aware and they understand that it is our duty, then they get sensitized. You might have seen nowadays people, many of them, they donate their organ beforehand only. पहले से organ bank में, donor bank में जाके उनको consent दे दिया that once we die, to take our organ. Whichever organs can be used for whosoever who is in need. ऐसे लोग करने लग गए. Now people have got that sensitivity, but it's not spreading among the masses. Then comes your second thing which you will do, that regulatory mechanism, because there are so many malpractices which can be there. Regulatory mech. This regulatory mechanism should be absolutely robust, efficient, zero tolerance. See, the problem with our society, with kind of people we are, is that we say the chalta hai approach. Regarding corruption, regarding sensitive issues like eve teasing, regarding sensitive issues like safety of women, whatever is the something which is shaping the core of the society should not be tolerated. The malpractices, the mispractices should not be tolerated at all. Clear? Don't tolerate. Zero tolerance. Corruption, 1 रुपया तो लिया. What is this 1 रुपया लिया? एक झापड़ मारो. Suspend the person immediately. Once we become strict with ourselves, once we become strict with our choices, the society will improve. Okay, so regulatory mechanism should be robust, efficient, headed by somebody who is a person who, एक बोलते हैं ना हम कि ये dry honest, somebody who is like having zero tolerance. ये आदमी, we need these kind of people. उसके बाद when we are taking something from France and Paris, France and some other Spain, ये countries follow करते हैं इस तरह की policy. France, Spain, इनसे हमने लिया. So should we not borrow the best practices also? Best policies तो ले लिया हमने. I'll give you an example what happens in our society. A few years back, when I was listening to ex-Chief Minister of UP, Akhilesh Yadav, he was saying that my father brought the fountain in Lucknow, that Lucknow का एक area है which is very famous. I'm unable to recall the name of that place. वो काफ़ी many people go and visit there. So he said that this fountain was brought to Lucknow by my father because my father saw this in England. अब इंग्लैंड से फाउंटेन तो आप ले आए, बट आर यू एबल टू गिव द फैसिलिटीज which English government, the British government, or the kind of lifestyle English British government is providing or British people are having? Can you bring that also, rather than just erecting these fountains, putting up these fountains and erecting the elephants and all which you have done? Should you not be focusing more on the improving the lifestyle, improving the life indicators of the people, whosoever, whatever party it might be? If some party is focusing more on the religion, more on the hatred, that's also wrong. What is core important? But let me tell you one thing, whatever happens, whatever is happening, whatever is being shown in the media, but at the end of the day, the party which is still in the power is actually doing wonderful groundwork. That's also a reality, because Modi is a taskmaster. That's also a reality. It cannot be denied. This person who is at the head, at the top of the government, has ensured that efficiency is the hallmark of the government. One picture clicked in Lakshadweep, put up on Instagram, so many ministers of Maldives gone. So much of fillip to our tourism. The Tata said that we'll build hotels, resorts there in Lakshadweep. The neglected part of India becomes thriving. Wonderful leadership. Great. So these best policies should come up with the best practices also. Best practices. Not only bring the best laws, but best practices also, which is very important, because the devil lies in the details. Unless your practices, the way you operate, the way you implement your policies don't become better, you will not get any success. That's why I say to plan is easy, but to implement is very tough. And those who don't implement and keep on planning will never get success. तो जिस गति से है चला वो उस गति को पाएगा. तो फूल सूंघता रहा तो किस गति समाएगा? If you are just in your comfort zone, how will you achieve success? So leave your comfort zone. Have that will. आपको वे आउट्स दिए गए हैं, टेक्निक्स दिए गए हैं, थ्योरी दी गई है, मटीरियल इज देयर. बिलीव मी, इट इज नॉट ओनली एनफ, इट इज मोर देन एनफ. but the practice has to be yours. Inquisitiveness should come from within you. Keep questioning yourself till you become the top ranker. That zeal is required and it will come from within you. आपको बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है. The kind of comfort zone which you are having ना, वही आपको destroy करता है. The biggest problem with the societies nowadays is that mobile phone which is on your hand. And let me tell you, आप जब यहाँ पे चले जाओगे ना LBS में and you don't attend a single class, एक क्लास मिस हुआ वो उठा के आपको एक रख देंगे 3 घंटे के लिए without phone with the books. Punishment. You go to SBP, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, National Academy of Administration, Police Academy, National Police Academy, NPA. वहाँ पे जाओगे क्या करेंगे आपके साथ में? आप इस तरह की कुछ भी हरकत करोगे, they will say जाके 25 राउंड मारो. Because they are trying to make an officer out of you who is ready 24/7. Firstly, who is working 15 hours a day. So do you think life becomes comfortable there when you go to the administration? No, not at all. This is just a presumption. The way things are being highlighted on Instagram is not reality. अभी ट्रेनिंग के दौरान में वो put up the picture and all, then when you go to the ground, then you will realize. And if you keep on doing this, वो picture put up करने वाला ना, you will never get any success or have any peace of mind, which is the actual goal of the human beings. To be the best version of yourself with a peaceful mind and a kind heart. Thank you very much for joining. एक case discuss किया है. Second case is with you. Earlier from the earlier class also, the 2 cases are there. Write them down, write the answers and send it to me. Then only I'll be giving you the inputs. Unless you do your bit, nothing will happen. Alright, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much for joining. We'll see you soon.